here is Dr. McHaines.
Well, first of all, it is great to be here on behalf of Edison State, and look forward to spending a few minutes with you talking about creativity and innovation, and also sharing a little bit about my career and how I've been able to do some stuff, and also blend in those two themes of creative thinking and also innovation within the work that I do. And so the one thing I was going to start with, did anybody have Mrs. Haynes as a fifth grade teacher? I have one. Okay, she's my wife, so she teaches at LT, and it's good to be back in Tip City. I started teaching here as a science teacher when LT Ball was a junior high, and then went away a little bit and then came back as assistant superintendent for a while, and then went on to different things. So with talking about creativity and innovation, the one thing I wanted to do was start out with talking about the difference between the two. And when we look at creativity and talking about creative people and talking about creative companies, there's a huge difference between creative and innovation. And the critical thing is what I put up there. With creativity, it's people, it's companies that are developing original ideas. And creative people, how many people in here think they are creative? I appreciate the maybe, okay? Creative people are people who have just brains are constantly going. I'm on one hand very, very creative, and I drive some people crazy because of the fact of my creativity. I'm good at 2 o'clock in the morning is when I'm really, really creative. And come up with a lot of different things. But creativity is coming up with ideas that are different. It's thinking out of the box or thinking differently from what people normally do. And then when you look at innovation, innovation is being able to make things happen. And in companies, it's important to have people who have both of those traits. You need people who are on the creative side, but you also need people who are on the innovative side. And so there's a company that we work with that basically the owner will talk about the fact that he has to have those creative people in research and development department, but he also needs his management and his marketing department in order to sell customers on the creative ideas that the company has. And so the best case scenario is to be able to have both creative people and also innovative people. So when we talk about, go back to people who develop their own original ideas, name some people that are out there right now that you think are very creative. Just shoot some names out.
Elon Musk.
Say that again?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk is a great example. Creative, or is he more innovative, is the question when I ask. Does he have the idea, or does he make the idea happen? He makes the idea happen. So Elon Musk is a good example of someone who is an innovator from the standpoint of taking ideas and making those ideas happen. So that's a great example of innovator. Name some other people that you think that are creative or you think that are innovators.
Jeff Bezos.
Bezos is a good example. Is he a creative person or is he an innovative person? He's a combo of both, where he has that creative side and he also has the capability of making it happen. Okay? Name some other folks.
Pablo Picasso.
Picasso is a great example of which one?
Creative.
He's creative. You look at his artwork, it's different. It has a different style to it. It has a different look, and he was creative with that. So that's a great example. Okay, and Picasso is a good example of when I said creative people sometimes drive people crazy. Picasso was known as being crazy. What was the one thing that he did that was crazy?
I couldn't tell you.
With his ear? He cut off his ear. And so that's some craziness that comes along sometimes with creative people. Okay, this summer we went to a concert, and it was a Beyonce concert down in Nashville. And with Beyonce, would you say she's creative or would you say she is innovative? Okay, she's both, similar to Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's an example of, did anybody think about Taylor Swift? Yeah. Taylor's a great example of someone who is very, very creative, but also able to make it happen. And so when you look at a Beyonce concert and you watch and you listen, not only are you hearing great music and creative music, but you're also watching entertainment. At one point, she comes out on this huge white horse that is a sign of the future. And then she has a lot of digital imagery behind her in her concert that goes along with her creative mind on what's going to be happening in the future. Taylor Swift does some similar things in her concerts where she's showing off her music, but also showing off other things where the stage opens up and looks like she's swimming. That's a good example of creative imagery that they're looking at and being able to use. So difference between creative and looking at innovation. You need both of those. If you're an individual, you need them as a company. You're also looking for, when you are forming a team, people to work with, it's important to keep in mind, who are my creative people, who are my innovative people, because you need the good ideas, but you also need people who can make the good ideas happen out there and sell it to people. So if you keep that in mind. And what I did, Indeed has traits of creative people. And what I want to do is when these pop up, I want you to think about yourself. Curious is a good example of creative. And if you think about, are you a curious person? And then playful, open-minded, flexible, sensitive, independent, risk-taking, intuitive, thorough, ambitious, objective, and energetic. With creative people, you have a lot of energy coming out of them. Sometimes when I say my best work's at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's because my brain is going, and it takes until about 3 o'clock in the morning in order for me to calm down with the fact that there's a lot of energy going on. And so energy has a lot to do with it. So those are the traits that are out there that are marked. And then when we start looking at most creative people, let's see what your list compares to. Anybody heard of Elsa? Orson Welles, and these are supposed to be the creative people of all times. J.R. Tolkien, writer. Viola Davis. Archie Boston. Inka Tanaka. Margaret Zhang. Beyonce is down, and we talked about Taylor, we talked about Beyonce a little bit, and then Frida is an artist, and then George Lewis. So those are examples of creative people. And then the thing I was interested for you guys with Career Connections is, what are the companies that allow you to be creative? Because there are some companies that unfortunately you get stuck in your box and they make you stay within the box. And if you look at what the companies are that are on your, let you run on your wild side, look and see if any of these look familiar. What's Zappos? Anybody familiar with them?
Walnut shoe and clothing.
Yeah, it's a shoe company and a clothing company. ServiceNow, Tesla is listed as a company that let you go wild as far as your creativity. And if you think about the Tesla car and what they're doing with electric vehicle, but also with how that car looks and how it performs, it is a different type of vehicle. Quadcast, Autodesk, Squarespace, Workday, Clover, Kinder Scott. All those are good examples of companies. So those are creativity, creative people, creative companies, and the traits. And then if we look at innovation, the 12 traits of innovative people, you're looking at continuous reflection, you're looking at unattached exploration, you're looking at iterating between abstract and concrete, action-oriented, opportunity-focused, mental resilience, intellectual humility, courage, sensitivity. And then the last two are designing valuable experiments and extracting learning. And so those are characteristics of the people. And then the question is, who are innovative leaders? Anyone recognize those faces?
Jeff.
Yeah, you see Bezos up there. And you guys mentioned him. If you look at who's on the list, Bezos, Musk, and if you remember, these are people who make things happen. And the list goes on and on. I won't go through the whole thing, but it gives you an idea of, and those are America's. And then the last question is, when we start looking at companies, and I look at this, I like on the right side because it says innovation premium, on how much is that company known for being innovative. Because personally, I want to work for an innovative company. I don't want to work for a company that is boring. I want a company that's going to keep me excited, let me use my energy, let me be creative. And you can see what's listed up there. Apple's on there, Google's on there. And if you think about the companies with Apple, when you go out west to their headquarters, basically it looks very, very different compared to a lot of other companies' corporate headquarters. And that's because they're trying to foster creativity and they want you to be innovative. And so those are the different companies that are out there that are on the innovative side. I lost my mouse. There it is. I'll let you find my mouse. See my pointer. I just want to X out of that. There you go. Thank you. Go ahead and click the next one. Which one? Yeah. No, just click the screen. Yeah. And the next one. So, how many people have heard of creative mindset? Okay. Creative mindset is something out there now that is looking at making sure that your mind is open to new ideas, making sure that you're setting yourself up to be able to think, but not only just think, but think differently. To be able to come up with different ideas, to come up with different products, to be able to come up with different ways of communicating. And so when you're looking at creative mindset, and in my job, we have to look at creative mindset from what makes Edison State unique. Also, what makes us a point of difference compared to a point of clarity or parity. With point of difference, I'll start with point of parity. With point of parity, basically, what happens at colleges and universities? What do you get? All colleges and universities offer education. So what comes to mind when you think of colleges and universities? Okay, what else comes up? What do you think about? So when you think about Ohio State, or when you think about University of Cincinnati was up here, what do you think about? Sports, okay. So what we look at, when you're looking at parity, you're looking at what are the similarities. And that's one thing when you're starting to look at colleges and universities, you want to look at what are the similarities of the colleges. Ohio State has sports. Edison State has sports. Ohio State's is a little bit different than what Edison State's is. We all have classrooms, we all have professors. When you're looking at innovation and when you're looking at being creative, you start looking at what's different. What makes Edison State different from Ohio State? Ohio State, when you go to a class, especially your freshman year, there can be 100 to 125 people in that class. At Edison State, our max is usually around 20 or less. And so we start looking at what are the differences. And you start using creativity to start fostering what the differences are. So part of my job, and I brought this is our newest document that is out there. When you look at this, what are we promoting? What are we saying is different when you look at that cover? What do you see? Okay, you see innovation with modern signage. Okay, so good. What else do you see?
A date review.
Okay, you see some years. And when you open it, when I open it up, in our pictures, everything that we put out there, you're gonna see green space. And you're gonna see flowers and you're gonna see nature, because our campus is on 160 acres. And a lot of, and we look at what our competition is very urban in a lot of ways. My daughter goes to University of Cincinnati. It is in Cincinnati. She sees a lot of concrete. She doesn't see a lot of green. And so one of the things that we look at is what is the point of difference at Edison State? So I just mentioned two. One is our small class size, and two, we have this beautiful campus that has lots of green, has lots of nature, as compared to some of the campuses that are more urban. And so those are two of the things that we look at as a point of difference. And it's important to keep in mind when you're trying to be creative and you're trying to be innovative on what are the things that make us similar. And when you're thinking about yourself with your jobs, potential jobs, you need to think about what makes me different and what makes me similar to the other candidates. And then the critical thing is being able to point out to your potential employer those things that make you unique. How are you going to make the job better with you as compared to other people who apply for a job? I want to go ahead and flip that, thank you. And so skills that are needed, and I put skills needed for my job based upon my job description. You can see, and I was sharing, I was part, when I was assistant superintendent here, I was part of the team that dreamed about having Tippecanoe High School out here. When I was in the district, Tippecanoe Middle School was the high school. This was not here. And so the word vision was one that was extremely important for our team from the standpoint of we came up with a vision of actually having this high school out here. And then, so that was the creative side. And then on the innovative side, we passed a bond issue and built the building. And so we made it happen. So you had that dream of having Tippecanoe High School out here, and then you had the reality of making it happen. And then about 20 years later, here all of you are enjoying this building. When I was here, this was dirt, and we were pushing, bulldozers were pushing dirt, and then eventually we built the building. But it's one where you have to have that vision and you have to be able to make it happen. I want to go ahead and go to the next one. So when you look at my job title, there are three things to my job. Basically, I'm vice president of advancement. The fun thing about my job is my group is known as the party group. And it's not because we are partnering all the time, it's because of the fact that every social event at Edison State, pretty much my team is touching it. And so if, like last night, we had an alumni event, my team was there putting that on. And so we're responsible for doing a lot of the outreach for the college with alumni, with businesses, and with partners. And then Chief Strategy Officer, This document here is all the things that Edison State is looking at doing in the next 3 years. It's my job to make sure that we know what we are doing currently and where we want to be in the future, and then also making sure that we're doing what we said we're going to be doing. And so the three things, kind of interesting. What's the first one say here?
Funding innovation.
Funding innovation. And so it's great to be creative, it's great to be innovative, but you have to have money enabled in order to do it. And so part of my job is raising the money in order to allow us to fund innovation. And so a great example, put a smile on my face. Last night I was working with one of our alumni who is in Santa Barbara, California, and after about 20 minutes they decided to donate $285,000. And the donation is helping with us to be able to be innovative. The other part of my job, and you'll see it here in a second, is we need to raise around $13 million for some of the innovation projects that we have. And so part of my job is to be able to get out there and raise dollars to be able to be creative and be able to support the innovation going on at Edison State. And then the last one is I'm Executive Director of the Edison Foundation, and so it's about $4 million that I make sure is being invested wisely and making sure that we're using it for the best interest of the college. One of the questions I was asked to address is, what is my education and prior experience? I have a doctorate degree from Miami University in leadership and management, and then you can see what my experience. Notice where I started, here in Tip City as a teacher. Notice I came back at one point as assistant superintendent, and so there's been a lot of things. I also teach for Miami University on a part-time basis, and over the years I've also taught for Wright State University. So it gives you an idea of my experience has always been in public education and working with students in public ed. And if you want to go to the next one, thank you, sir. This was interesting because they asked me to talk about what is the career demand and relocation potential. So how many vice presidents are there out there of community colleges and universities? In Ohio, you can see there's 23 community colleges. So if I want to stay in Ohio and do my job, there are 23 positions in Ohio. If I want to look at moving to a four-year institution like a Miami or whatever, in Ohio there's 14 four-year universities, and then they have branch campuses, and then private colleges and universities is about 50 in Ohio. And then as you go out, the United States has almost 4,000 colleges and universities, so there's about 4,000 vice presidents out there across the country. And then globally, there's 23,624 different colleges and universities, and so there's that many vice presidents out there that are helping. And what's the potential for relocation? I have friends that are local doing the same job. I have friends that are across the state doing the same jobs. I have friends that are across the country doing the same job. I have a really good friend in Dubai that is currently doing a very similar job. And so pretty much you can go anywhere in the world with the career that I'm in. And then basically what I wanted to show you, some of the work that I'm currently doing and some of the fun stuff. If you want to click this one. I'm in charge of partnerships, and so one great partnership that we have that is on the creative side, we're actually partners with the Dayton Dragons. So if you want to click enter down here, and if you want to skip intro up on the right corner, and over here on the left, if you'll go to partnership elements, and we'll just run through these pictures. And there's a green button on the right. Yep, thank you. So if you go to Dragons game, you'll see Edison State's logo quite a bit. And That's happening because of the fact that we're the only college and university that is a partner with the Dayton Dragons. So again, uniqueness. How are we different? We're different by being partners with the Dayton Dragons. If we want to flip it, we have scholarship programs through the Dragons. Go ahead and flip. We are on their Facebook, we're on their Twitter, we're on their press releases. If you see the on bat circles or on deck circles, it's an Edison State logo at every game. And then above the concession stands, it says Edison State about every 20 slides. And if you want to kick to the next one, we're in the brochure when you get in, or the program. This is our women's softball team that gets to play down at Dragons Field, and so it's a perk for our student athletes. And then our baseball team plays down there also. And then you can see some of our professors get to sing the national anthem. Our president does the first pitch periodically, and then our fight song gets sung periodically down at the Dayton Dragons. And so part of my job was find a way to promote Edison State in a different way. Being a partner with the Dayton Dragons allows us to promote because every person that comes through that ballpark sees our logo on a regular basis, on a daily basis. So if we want to flip out of that. A couple other projects. This is our 50th anniversary. And so the challenge was, how do we celebrate the 50th anniversary, but also how do we talk about the future? And so we kicked off the 50th anniversary with 50 Fest, and then basically we're talking about the future with 50 Next. This commercial and marketing is part of my job at Edison State, and so if we click this one, I love this one because I think this was creative on our part. And this is basically showing what?
Major in fields like business, education, nursing, and engineering, even taking classes online. And they couldn't be happier. We couldn't be happier either. After all, that's how we planned it. With Edison State Community College's 2+2 programs, you can get your 2-year degree and 4 classes at Edison, and then easily transfer to a state school. Save thousands of dollars and get the same great education. Visit edisonohio.edu.
On this one, our team got creative from the standpoint of all of these are students at Edison, or were students at Edison State. They started with that Edison State t-shirt, 2 years with us, and then after that they transferred to a 4-year college. And so in the commercial, you notice they put their 4-year university sweatshirt over their t-shirts from Edison State. And so there's creativity in action where we sat around as a marketing team and looked at how can we visually show the pathway that Edison State has to Ohio State or UC or University of Toledo. Somebody has the shirt on. My son's went there. But basically we have connections to 4-year universities that you can come to Edison State first for 2 years and then go there. So we had to get creative with how do we show that visually. And then some other things that are going on, if you were to go ahead and click that one. And this is another commercial that we did, and I already mentioned this, but look at what the one thing is, if you want to click that one. What are you seeing?
Nature.
Nature?
Some grass.
Grass.
I didn't want to give up the college experience. That's why I chose
That's our
Edison
courtyard.
State. I have a great
And
relationship
you can
with my
stop
professor.
it.
They even know my
But
name.
there's 2 things that we're trying to promote there. If you see it, you're seeing athletics, and somebody mentioned athletics, because we do have a full athletic program, like the 4-year institutions, but also you see the nature, and then you also see pretty much our people. You see our students, our student athletes, and you see our faculty people. It's small groups, because we have small sizes as far as classroom, similar to what this is. So, and then one thing I wanted to share was this one right here. And this is one thing that we have to keep in mind with promotions and with talking about innovation. When you look at people, only about 2.5% of people are known as innovators. 2.5% of 100%. That's not very much. So it's a small amount of people who are innovators, but what we try to do is work at, okay, you have the 2.5% that are innovators, and then you have 13.5% are early adopters. And early adopters are the people who are getting the next version of the Apple iPhone. And they're ordering it before it actually comes out. That is an early adopter. And so we're interested in looking at who are the early adopters, and then we try to reach majorities. People who are deliberately looking at what the product is and for creativity, and then also people who are on the other side. So it's important to keep in mind that there's a small amount of people that are innovators, and there's a much larger amount of people that you've got to convince. And so part of my work with marketing, part of my work with partnerships is realizing that there's a large group of people that I have to be very creative with. And so when we produce things, this is an invitation to an event that's coming up. Notice the invitation isn't a flyer or a piece of paper. You open this in the mail. It's not something you just pull out. Notice it's a snowflake on the outside, and then basically it opens up with the 3 different groups that are performing at Edison State in 2 weeks. And you should know this guy down here, Mr. Brett. Is a teacher here, correct? Yeah. So he's actually one of our performers. But my job is to make sure it looks interesting and make sure if somebody gets this in the mail, they actually open it up. And then the other thing is making things look interesting and inviting. And this was one of the 50 Fest events that we had this past summer, where we had people coming in and singing, and this is a good example of something like that. So that's the work that I do in the role that I'm in. And the critical element when I was reached out to about talking about creativity and innovation, that's part of my job on a daily basis, is being able to figure out how to be creative and also let the juices flow, but also basically look carefully at how we can make it happen. And so being creative but also making it happen is extremely important. And with that, I think I'm ready for questions. Yes?
What's it like having being that big of a personality in college? Like, being a vice president?
My job is awesome. And the thing, when I drive every morning to Edison State, our mission is to help make our students' dreams come true. And if you think about that, that is something that excites me from the standpoint of being able to help about 5,000 people with their dreams for their future and allowing them to get the education they need to make those dreams come true. And so it's one where a lot of work, but also a lot of enjoyment in what we do. So, other questions? Yeah.
What was your dream job?
What was my
Dream job, like in high school?
I always wanted to be a teacher. And then just once I got into my role, I loved every job I had on that list. I loved that. And when I did leave that particular job, I left it enjoying what I was doing. And so I honestly can say that my dream job has been everything that I've been able to do. And right now, when I can help other people with their dreams, that makes it my dream job. Plus, we get to have fun while we're doing all of it. Other questions? Yeah.
What was your least favorite job?
I've loved all of my jobs. Probably my least favorite was when I was a teacher and it was a component of, when I was a teacher here in Tip City, I never assigned detention to anybody, but all teachers in my building had to cover detention duty. And I hated covering detention duty, because my students and I got along really, really well. And so, that was probably the worst thing, so. Other questions? Okay, thank you.